It's humbling to think of the impact that you can have, even this little funny company in Utah.
Why does this company exist? It's because of great blessings, luck, amazing people.
This couldn't have happened without you, because everybody at KLAS has something they're doing that is critical to our impact in the market, and it looks different for everybody.
We just want to help so much.
It's a little bit humbling when providers will call and say, thank you for this report. You helped me.
Wow, I really am making a difference here.
Nobody else is doing something quite like this.
This isn't no small Utah company. You know, this is big and it impacts a lot.
I think we have amazing team members that have such a passion for changing the world. And I wish they got to see that more often, see the smile on a patient's face, you know, when something does work right.
I'm Hannah Quast, and I played lacrosse for 6 years at Liberty.
Hannah is the epitome of what we're working towards.
We were actually running a run test, and I hit the line, and I just hear this like huge pop. It was sharp, and it was a lot all at once, the pain. It was clear as day that I ruptured my Achilles. I got in to see Dr. P in Ortho, Virginia. What was really special is he felt it with me. He like mourned with me. I just remember him being like, it's gonna be okay. Like, we're gonna get through this. It's gonna be hard. Like, you're gonna have to put in work, and it's gonna be a long road ahead, but we're gonna get through it and you will play again.
Our data makes a huge difference. If we can help people buy the best software, then they're sitting with the patient, not dealing with the technology. So that's where Hannah can have an amazing experience, just one-on-one with their clinician, the technology helping but not being in the way.
I was able to get imaging right away, and I would usually open the results or the images with my trainer, and we would like read everything, and then we'd come up with questions so that when we would see Dr. P, we'd be like, okay, what do you think about this? Will I be back in 6 months or not? So that was very helpful, and without that technology, I feel like I would be a mess up until the appointment. It kind of just gave me more confidence knowing that Dr. P, my surgeon, and Steve, my PT, they were in communication, and they shared the same information together through this technology. Ortho Virginia was just overall caring in the way to best treat me.
Hannah's experience, that's now becoming the norm, which is great.
I just feel like loved.
It really was one super passionate person at KLAS, working with one super passionate person at Ortho Virginia that started the whole thing.
Ortho Virginia, for example, they're a string of orthopedic practices, all ambulatory in a very small region of the country.
Our software vendor did a good job implementing our software, but the next step is optimization.
Pretty early on, the satisfaction with our providers was less than optimal. What KLAS let us do is measure how poorly we were doing, and it confirmed that we were bad.
Their first measurement in 2017, they scored an 11 out of a possible 100. Not great. It's at least a positive number.
A little frustrating to not be as good as you would hope to be. Again, we're talking about taking care of patients. Mediocrity is not okay.
We needed to make some pretty significant improvements in how we were utilizing the product and supporting our docs. And we made some probably a little bit out-of-the-box decisions to roll out this provider support specialist.
When the technology isn't working as designed and they're frustrated with it, that distracts them from the patient. And so with that KLAS data, we could hone in on where we need to help providers the most to really minimize the intrusion of technology with patient care, so that way 100% of their focus stays on the patient.
That's one of the big things that we implemented so that we improved our scores.
So when we measured in 2017, we were in the 31st percentile in the ARCH Collaborative in terms of user satisfaction. Then we measured in 2018 and we were in the 78th percentile, which was a substantial improvement.
It's still probably in the top 5 to 10 of improvements that we've seen from one measurement to the next.
And then by 2020, we were in the 94th percentile. So pretty good story in 3 years to go from, middling to poor to at the top of the pile. And KLAS in the ARCH Collaborative was critical in our ability to do that.
I have been using KLAS since I've been an executive, so a long time. And it's actually the one company that you can trust.
Trust is not just a cute word that you put on the wall. It is what our product actually is.
The long-term success of KLAS is completely dependent on that trust in the marketplace.
KLAS goes out and does those surveys. They ask the questions I wish I could ask, and then they take it and put it in information that I can use to make decisions.
There's a reason why there aren't a bunch of companies doing what we do. We kind of do it the old-fashioned hard way, and that's relationships and talking to people. Our data is very difficult to collect. It all comes down to getting someone on the phone and talking.
It's my team's job to do the initial outreach to that provider so that we can get them on the phone. Last month, we did 175,000 outreach activities, and that was to 53,000 unique providers. So we're trying to reach out to a lot of people. If we don't schedule those calls and we don't collect the feedback from those providers, then everything that KLAS does wouldn't be possible.
These conversations, if you can imagine, sometimes 30 minutes, it could be up to an hour. And then we have the team that has to extract all of that.
All of that data then needed to be transcribed and QA'd and processed. We needed to extract the meaningful comments out of that conversation so that the analyst can then go and analyze the data and build a great deck.
There's something in those researchers that they know when they found like that nugget that would help another peer friend like make a buying decision.
We rely on design teams to make sure that our branding's on point, and that when we're building decks, everything looks clean and has the kind of right presentation around it.
The data is what holds vendors accountable. It's what gives providers what they need to make their decisions. And if none of them can understand the data, what does it matter?
I have always enjoyed taking information like that and making it very clear for anyone who's looking at it.
There are just so many individual people, start to finish, that goes through the whole process. Part of what makes KLAS so unique and special, hopefully providers are not in that situation where they need to make a decision overnight, but sometimes they can be.
I woke up to the phone call you never want.
Ortho Virginia, unfortunately, had a cyber attack.
Our local network had been compromised.
There was not a really structured way to deal with this. It wasn't like you called the FBI. You were sort of a little bit on your own. And for us, unfortunately, our X-ray systems went down.
If you are going in as a patient and the provider is going to be looking at your images and you can't see those images, you can't pull the past and priors, it's absolutely going to be crippling.
There were times when I would take an X-ray of a knee and I would have to run down the hall, run to the X-ray machine, look at a substandard image, try to take a picture with my phone so that we could somehow get that into the EHR to make a record.
It's a huge deal.
So there was one person, Monique Rasband, who I knew in KLAS, who basically is the PACS or X-ray guru. We called her and spoke with her.
They needed a hardware updates. They had, I believe, about 5 different PACS systems. They're consolidating into one.
So a lot of the KLAS data, just what the functionality of the system truly is, and not from the vendor telling you, but from what other customers say what the functionality is, it really does help to make sure you're making wise investments and not throwing money away.
It was not just as cut and dry as even what's the top vendor, and I think that's the part about the KLAS data. The best in KLAS is great and it shows the ranking, but what are you trying to solve as a healthcare provider?
We needed speedy implementation, so it was really important that we looked at the KLAS data because it's newer technology, not proven to us. Would it work?
KLAS helped us to feel confident in our decision-making. They were unbiased and they were not compromised by commercial interest or anything, and they could tell us. And that was critical data for us.
It had the cyber attack. I'd had no sleep. I'm tired, but we had to make a decision quickly. So I used the KLAS data and we made the selection and implemented a cloud PACS system. And in 2 weeks, we had in all 32 locations, those X-ray machines hooked up to PACS so the doctors could see the images again. 2 weeks.
And just recognize that most of the time that takes 6 to 8 months.
So it was like having a friend with us as we made that decision and as we went through implementation. And some of the things to look out for, we kind of learned reading the KLAS data and the comments that were in there that those KLAS analysts had pulled together. So it was great.
At the end of the day, it is just such a beautiful gift to be able to give that back.
I would just want to say how thankful I am. Keep going. Don't give up. I think of the challenges Kent had early on as he started this.
1996 is when it first began. I thought, is there anybody out there that would actually measure if companies keep their commitments? Would it be great to tell the truth in the industry and get paid to do it? And then these doctors and nurses and hospitals could buy accurately, knowing what they were getting, as opposed to a dream that they buy and it's not fulfilled.
This was a passion. This was a way to see, how can we really change something in the universe? I am most proud of the people that I've gotten to work with. I think there's something about working with great people, and I like to call it surrounding yourself with greatness.
The passion that everybody has here is infectious. You know, just hearing how everybody else explains like why they're passionate about it makes you want to be part of that too.
The culture of KLAS is extremely different than any other company I've worked for. Everybody that I met and continued to meet has just been like, you know what, that's just a genuinely good person.
As each new member joins, they bring a piece to the culture.
They're ambitious and eager to make a difference, but they have this rare combination of humility and kindness that goes with that energy and ambition that I think is really special about KLAS.
We're doing work that matters, and we're doing it alongside people that we care about and that we love to show up to work with every day.
Our team has great courage and integrity in saying what the real story is.
I've had spots in my career where it's hard to explain what I do. This is not one of them. It's easy to say, yeah, I'm helping to make healthcare better.
And I hope that we have bigger and brighter things every day, probably things that I can't even picture today of ways that will change the market.
Thank you for what you do. What you do makes a big difference in the healthcare community at large.
Thank you. It's a great deal of work. I know pulling data and comments may seem mundane, but being able to look at that and have meaningful information when you're making decisions is critical.
Helps us impact more patient lives, and people have just better outcomes overall. So obviously we can't do this without you, so thanks so much.
People that work at KLAS are directly impacting providers, which directly impacts patients. And those are our family and friends.
It's incredible that even that little thing that people in Salt Lake City, I don't know these people, but I just feel extremely loved and supported.
When you work with amazing people on a mission that's impactful, it does tie to your soul somehow. And I love that. I love that we have that sort of mentality working together.
I was walking down the hallway and I realized we've got half the hallway here to still fill with this. And I'm sure it's not by accident, right? This story is ongoing and I'm really excited to see the big steps that come.